Hey everybody, welcome to the official Q&A session here in my home studio where I get most of my work done. So as you could probably tell, I originally wanted to do this as basically as a true live stream, but I've been having some issues with live stream, and so what rather than keep putting it off, what I decided to do is just go ahead and film it as just a video like this, and then post it so that you could watch it. But what I wanted to try to do was keep it, really raw, unedited, just as a really informal thing. Um, so that where it would basically come across as just kind of a sit here and chit chat session, nothing no put on airs, any kind of business like that. Because a lot of you guys, I mean, honestly, there's a reason why I wanted to do this for a long time is because there's a lot of you guys who don't know me personally, who have never really had the chance to just sit and talk like this. You've seen my songs posted. Hopefully you've listened to the songs. If you have, thank you. You've seen pictures I've posted, everything like that. But if you haven't met me when we played live somewhere, or you just don't know me personally yet, then yeah, you just may not have a chance to kind of talk like this. So that's the whole reason why I wanted to do this for a while now. So what we're gonna do is everybody that submitted questions, thank you guys. Y'all sent in some really good questions. So what I wanted to do is just run through those and answer your Q&A questions. Try not to drag things out too long to keep it halfway interesting, so you don't lose interest. And then I'll kind of give you, just kind of follow that up with some background information about me and kind of where things are headed, all that kind of stuff. So Q&A questions. The first one: what is the best show that you've ever done, and what made it the best? Good question. Um, and one thing I've told people before is that it's not always the biggest shows that you play to the biggest crowds that end up being some of the best, most enjoyable ones you've played. Oftentimes, it's the other way around because a smaller, more informal setting to a smaller crowd of people, naturally it's going to be more intimate, and you're going to be able to interact with the crowd a heck of a lot more. Not that the others aren't enjoyable, it's just a closer setting, it's a more intimate thing. So they end up being really cool shows. One that kind of stands out to me as one that was pretty cool. It was small. Played several years ago in Galveston. It was a place called the Float Bar. If any of you guys have heard of it before, or maybe you've been there before. But yeah, it's in Galveston. It's on the seawall, and um, it's like it was in the evening. Really cool setting. It's on the beach, setting sun. The crowd was really cool. There probably weren't more than at any given time. Couldn't have been more than 50 or 75 people there. But people were really into the music, and you're just like playing in this cool setting. You're on the beach, uh, there's swim up bar. There's a pool at the bar that you're playing near. That was just a cool place that I enjoyed playing. That stood out for me. Um, there were a few others that were kind of like that, but most of them were smaller places. Um, so that probably stands out. If I had to name one place that was the best show, the Flow Bar was cool. Next question: what has been your weirdest experience at a live show so far? Thankfully, not a whole lot, but certainly there has been one that kind of stands out for me. Weird experience. I'm not going to name where this was because it was not that. It's relatively local place. It's not that far from here, Angleton, where I live. Um, but anyway, it was a relatively small restaurant slash bar place. Um, where there was an outside. Try to think the best way to word. There's an outside area and an inside area, kind of a patio on the outside. Well, we were playing outside, and it was late, of course, and obviously everybody's drinking too, so that's probably a very large contributing factor to it. But just get to the point of the story. The people who weren't listening to our music were inside the inside area of the restaurant slash bar, and man, I guess they were listening to piped in music on the radio or something. I don't know, but I guess a lot of people got drunk because for some reason, mostly men and some women too, but they were all dancing on top of the tables and just absolutely acting like idiots inside this restaurant. So thankfully that it can get a lot weirder than that. So thankfully that was probably the weirdest one so far. Next question. What was your favorite songwriter collaboration? That was that's a good question. Although I haven't done a heck of a lot of songwriter collaborations, but I have worked certainly with other people a lot. Right now, for the longest time, I do virtually all of the songwriting with very few exceptions. Long time ago, my brother and I, early on, had a little duo that we did together. We called ourselves Double Tap. So any of you guys that have known us for a really long time and kind of followed the music might remember some of that. And you can still find some of that online too. But we wrote songs together, co-songwriters on our music. Ever since then, haven't worked with hardly anyone else. It's been the bulk of me writing everything. Now, instrumentally, on the other hand, while I do write virtually all of the lyrics right now, I do collaborate a lot with people on the instrumentation, because while I play a lot of, I call myself a multi-instrumentalist, because I do play a heck of a lot of different instruments. I love playing different instruments and learning how to play new instruments. But let's face it, there's just some stuff I don't play or don't do that well. And so I do play percussion some, but I'm not the world's best drummer. And so I tend to collaborate with drummers and building drum beats. If you've heard any of my songs that have, some really good jamming, drum beats, obviously it's been played by someone else. It was someone else that I worked with on that. And so I tend to collaborate with drummers. Every once in a while with, a bass player or something like that. I usually play bass myself, but every once in a while someone else will get in on it. But now I do, the caveat to that being that I'm the only songwriter right now, is that I kind of have to throw this in there. So there's a good friend of mine, we've been friends for so long, who actually is really good at writing awesome lyrics. And so he's sort of a ghostwriter on several of the songs that I'm working on right now. He's written, virtually all of the lyrics for these songs. And they're really cool lyrics too. You guys are gonna like them. I may tweak things or move stuff around here and there, but he's written an awful lot. So Bryant, credit due to you, buddy. That's I'm talking about you, obviously. And so we've got 3 songs right now, I think, that have been trying to finish for so long, and it's just there's so much going on. It's not even funny, but. These are awesome songs that everybody's really gonna like a lot when they finally make it out, and but I've got to give him credit on those songs for the lyrics that he wrote for them, and they're gonna be one of them is probably gonna be kind of a little bit slower acoustic rock kind of thing, whereas the other 2 will probably be more upbeat, true, hard rock, kind of rock to hard rock. Um, so that's a cool collaboration there. Hopefully, what I would like to do eventually is get enough um, songs that the two of us have worked on together that can make up an entire album of songs. Next question. When I'm songwriting, do I write lyrics or the melody first? Really good question that everybody gets asked at one time or another. Everyone has their own way of doing it, their own different way of doing it. There's no right or wrong way. It's just whatever's easiest, comes easier for you and works the easiest for you. Um, but for me personally, now there are exceptions, obviously, but for me personally, it's almost always easier to write the lyrics first because you can sit and just let the lyrics flow out, and they come out pretty quickly most of the time. Once I start writing lyrics, in most cases they flow pretty quickly, and then it's not that hard to build a melody on top of that. Now, obviously, I just mentioned a second ago about Bryant, writing lyrics, whereas I didn't have, I don't have any, didn't before have melody to those songs yet. So I'm with his songs, I'm building the melody up around his lyrics. It's certainly it's doable. It just it's a different approach. When I'm writing 100% of a piece of music, it's typically either concurrently lyrics and melody going at the same time, or all lyrics first and then build a melody up around it. Kind of case in point with that, the one Mini Dress Princess, you guys that know that song from 2019. That one was put together really, really quickly. I was basically driving home one day, and the lyrics kind of just started popping in my head. About Mini Dress Princess, and everything just started flowing really quickly. And I had almost all the lyrics written within like the first day, or maybe the second day after I started on it. And then when the lyrics were almost finished, or maybe had to just kind of change the order of some stuff a little bit, kind of started working on the melody there, and it also came together real fast. I mean, I think the whole song of Mini Dress Princess, probably I had it basically finished within like a few days, 2 or 3 days maybe, and I farted around with it and changed the order of some things to where I finally got it to the way where I liked it, and maybe had it in where I was finally tired of messing with it and liked the way that it was after a week or two or maybe 3, but it was basically finished in 2 or 3 days. So yeah, I usually write lyrics first and then build a melody up around that, no matter what kind of song it is. Okay, this is a cool question from Julie. What was the path of your musical education growing up, and what would you recommend to young parents who are wanting to guide their kids toward music in their lives? That's so cool because I don't care if you're like a world famous musician, if you're an amateur musician, if you're on your way up, if you can call yourself whatever you want to. Your legacy, whether it's your own kids or someone else's kids or whatever, is that you want to leave that passion for the music on to the next generation, right? And so, for me, the path of my musical education growing up, so I'm very largely self-taught, almost entirely self-taught. Um, the first instrument I started kind of messing around with as a young kid. Now, okay, let me start out even earlier than that. I think what actually kind of planted the seed for me and really set things going musically for me. I can very distinctly remember my parents telling me as a very young kid. I mean, I was probably like 2 or 3 or maybe 4 years old, just running around the house, screaming my head off, singing to Def Leppard. Right, Def Leppard has always been one of my absolute favorite bands. Their music has obviously since an extremely young age had a huge influence on me. It's kind of where one of the things that influences my sound a lot, especially on some of the earlier pieces of music that I've done, on the way that things are kind of orchestrated. You know, the way the guitars are orchestrated and everything. Um, but so listening right to awesome music and just having that where your parents foster that, you know, that deep passion for awesome music and playing music in the house, having a musical household is huge. You know, just letting your kids know that that it's all right to be that involved in music and for it to be a deep passion in your life, you know, even if it's just a deep love for music and you never actually play any instruments yourself, that's totally cool too, you know. But then if you end up playing something and getting really passionate about it, then hey, awesome, so much the better on that, right? But so yeah, I was listening to all kinds of just really cool music from a young age. Um, and really, I mean, I grew up in the '80s, you know, so there was absolutely no lack of, you know, cool music, awesome. Of course, I grew up on a little bit of country, but mostly rock music. I'm kind of steeped in everything. There's almost no kind of music, no genre of music that I don't like. But when I first started playing any kind of instrument, I was pretty young. I don't remember exactly, but I was probably somewhere in like 6 to 8 years old, probably when I kind of started messing around with keyboards and kind of learning the theory behind keyboards and stuff. We didn't have a piano. We had an electronic keyboard, and so that's what I kind of started out playing on um, for a while, and then, you know, I didn't take any formal lessons or anything like that. My mom plays piano, has forever, and so she taught me a lot of the, you know, just basic songs on keyboards and kind of the theory behind it. But yeah, like I said, I never had a lesson on piano or anything like that. And then later, you know, got into guitar early on, and then kept on going from there. You know, and it seems like it's hard to kind of like quench my passion for playing instruments. I always am adding some new instrument that, you know, I'm not to say I'm very good at it. You know, hopefully I will get better at some of the ones that some of them I've gotten a lot better at. Some of them I'm still learning, but certainly I love playing different instruments. You know, just having that uh, creative outlet that's just it's never can never really, you know, quench it. It's just always there, and I think that's kind of what started it was, you know, getting into music from a really young age. What would you recommend to young parents wanting to guide their kids towards music? Again, I think have music in your house every single day, whether it's just you playing it for your kids to listen to the music that you like and that they uh, can be free to like the music that they like and have it be a part of their every single day lives. You know, it's like anything else. If you are around it every single day, then you're probably gonna love it, right? No matter what it is. So just have music going in your house all the time, and it doesn't make any difference what kind of music it is either. It can be classical music, it can be jazz, it can be country, it can be rock. I don't care what it is. Have music in your house all the time, and have it be part of your lifestyle. Have music when they're old enough. Obviously, take your kids to concerts. Take them to see anything. I don't care as long as it's appropriate, obviously, but take your kids to see bands and be exposed to music as often as possible, and just let it be okay. Let music be a part of your entire family's life all the time. Um, okay, next question. What is your opinion of the current music scene, and what direction do you see it going? Good question. The music scene. So I um, yeah, I've been involved in playing music, not just like I said a minute ago, listening to music from a really young age. I've been actually a serious musician. Now, like I said, when I started out messing around with keyboards and stuff like that, I was a kid, 6 to 8 years old. You know, I wouldn't really consider that serious. You know, I'm talking about when I really seriously got involved in it, started writing, you know, my own original songs and actually learning kind of how to halfway put songs together. compositionally and stuff like that. But I've been doing this for well over 20 years at this point, and certainly have collaborated with people all along the way in one aspect or another. But the music scene has changed a lot, as any musician will tell you, an awful lot over the last 20 to 30 years, and even really, it really has even changed a lot over the last 10 or 15 years from now, from 2021. The labels, the major labels, as anyone, you can read about this, anyone will tell you that's involved in the industry in any way. The major labels used to control everything. I mean, they said what went and what didn't go years ago. For decades, that's the way it was. That's just the way it was done. And when people talk about getting signed or signing a record label, that's what they're talking about, is having a representative from a major label come and meet with you or meet with your band and sign you to a record deal. Having been involved in the music industry for a long time in one way or another and just being connected to it, I can tell you, and hopefully you guys, you people who are musicians or are seriously involved in it already know this. If you don't, then we can talk more about this if you want to, if you need, more information, or talk to somebody who knows, more than I do about it even. I'm not claiming to be the world's foremost expert on it. But case in point, just, be well aware of the fact that being signed, everybody thinks, especially used to, that being signed to a major label deal was a way to go. You were set from that point on. And that it couldn't be further from the truth. That's just not the way it goes. And matter of fact, that's usually the way these days, now that you don't want to go, is signing to a major label. Now there are exceptions. There are some good labels still, but so many of them have fallen apart that there aren't as many labels anymore, and they don't have the power that they used to have. There are so many more lucrative ways of doing it independently. People think that if you're an independent musician, then that it just means that you're not successful, and that you haven't quote unquote made it big, right? Quote unquote. You haven't hit it big, and you're not a household name. You're not a big musician. You're not in anything. Nobody's a nobody. Whatever. If you are not represented by a major label, and that's just not the case anymore, especially nowadays. That's not the case. There are so many ways to make this happen as an independent musician. I'm telling you, there's so much I've learned already of ways of promoting yourself. The internet is so powerful now. There's ways to do it. I won't drag on and on and on about it right now. We can talk more about it later if anybody wants to, but independent musicians have so much more power than they used to have even a few years ago. Just remember that. That's a huge way that the current music scene has changed. What direction do you see it going in? Streaming services have basically taken over now. Streaming platforms have taken over for kind of like where major labels used to be, the power that they used to have. Streaming has a lot of power. So that is a direction that it's kind of heading in. It's already been going in for a few years. It's still heading in that direction. But just remember something: streaming is still not everything either. Okay, there's other ways to. Streaming is good for promoting yourself, but it's not the be all end all for everything. Just remember that. Streaming has its place. Like I said, labels still, the ones that are out there, some labels still have their place, but it's just not what it used to be. Streaming has its place. Still, as independent musicians promoting themselves and banding together, banding together as indie musicians, and promoting yourself that way and promoting each other that way, I think is I'm already involved in that now. There's some other awesome musicians that I'm involved with right now, with doing it this way as indie musicians, promoting yourself and promoting each other. That's just, it's awesome. It's second to none. It's on the way up. I think that's the next a lot of us think that that's one of the next big things, one of the next big breakthroughs. Whether it's a year from now or 5 years from now, we don't really. It's hard to gauge, but I think that's a big direction that's going in. Is that indie musicians are gradually year after year gaining more power than they had before, and being able to promote themselves and promote each other in ways that weren't possible even a few years ago. I think that's a big direction where we're going right now. Specific songwriter and band here. I know a lot of you guys want my answer on this. There's so many of you guys who I'm friends with, who we all we're big fans of the Turnpike Troubadours, right? So the guys from they're from Oklahoma. Of course, my family is too. But yeah, so we're always, those of us who are who talk about that, we like talking back and forth about that. Anyway, Dom asked me this question, so we're kind of always shooting the shit about Turnpike, but so he wanted to know what, in my opinion, what the best song that Evan Felker, who's obviously the principal songwriter and vocalist for the Troubadours, ever wrote, and why do I think that? Why do I think that about my opinion? Okay, Dom, and everybody else who's watching this. So yeah, Turnpike's awesome. For those of you guys who didn't know that I was a fan of theirs, now you know. Like I said, I'm into so many different kinds of music. It's not even funny. I'm influenced by so many different things, but anyway, not to get off topic here. Okay, to answer you, Dom, this is kind of it's a multi-part question. It's a multi-part answer to your question. So I think the Bird Hunters, I think instrumentally, to me is a really well put together song that Evan and Turnpike put together instrumentally. The lyrics are cool too, but man, it's just, for me, when it comes to red dirt country and Texas country and just kind of that, what a lot of people call country rock or outlaw country, which is one genre that I do as well, obviously, but it's, you've got rock guitar and you've got traditional country instruments melded with that, right? And so in that song, you got awesome display of fiddles, and banjo and the rock guitar, right? On the Bird Hunters. Now, songwriting, lyrically speaking, it's kind of a dual one for me between, I think Ringing in the Year is really cool. That's an awesome, lyrically very well written song that Evan wrote, as well as Diamonds and Gasoline. I think both of those lyrically are just Evan's an absolute genius lyrically, songwriting, but though I think two of those for me are really, really stand out as well written Turnpike songs. Feel free to debate me on that, and because there are others that are really awesome too, but I had to choose something to throw it out there. So in any case, there are my, and here let me tell you something too that's kind of cool. Small world, right? So you guys probably don't know much of my background either, but so obviously you can tell from my freaking Texas boy accent, right, that I got one heck of a Texas accent. Everybody teases me about that. So I was born in Texas, grew up in Texas, but my mom was actually born in Muskogee, Oklahoma, and my dad was born in Drumright, Oklahoma, right, which are both not far outside of Tulsa in two different directions. And Evan Felker was actually born in Okemah, I think is how they pronounce it, which is freaking right there close too. And then he actually, once he got a little bit older, when he was, I think, in his early 20s, he went to school in Stillwater. I think he went to trade school in Stillwater, and kind of worked around there. And that's the very earliest days of when they started the Troubadours. and then after a few years, they actually moved the band to Tahlequah, which Tahlequah again is right down the road from Muskogee, right? So Muskogee is where my grandparents lived for a really long time when I was a kid, and they ended up moving to Texas, which is one of the ways that I ended up in, being born in Texas and growing up down here in Texas. But early on, they lived in Muskogee, and so as a kid, at a young age, I was born in Texas, but I spent a lot of time running around Muskogee, Oklahoma, and so yeah, Evan's only a few years younger than I am. Obviously, I didn't know him or anything like that, but being that we're from such close proximity of areas when as a kid, me in my running around playing in my grandparents' house, and Evan being actually from that area. Yeah, again, just small world. So yeah, I like to say, and actually, one of the songs that I'm working on right now in that genre, in the kind of red dirt, country rock kind of genre, is kind of hints to the fact that I've got one foot in Texas and another one in Oklahoma. So, yeah, that's it's kind of cool. Anyway, to give you guys a little bit of touching a little bit of background on me and how it kind of relates to that. Uh, she asked me this one, so I've gotta answer it. I can't just leave this one off. But why are you so damn good looking? Well, I don't know. You'll have to ask my parents about that, I guess. That's what God blessed me with, I guess, Paula. So there's some women or some people, men, I don't care, whatever, who probably don't think I'm very damn good looking anyway. But still, thank you for saying so. I appreciate it. Robbie, you asked me what kind of beer I drink. Good question. Okay, so for me, it's typically going to be either I got to do the Dos Equis commercial. I always drink beer when I do. Sometimes it's Dos Equis, but right now it's Modelo. Right at this very moment, Modelo Especial, which is I'm not much for light beer. I don't drink Bud Light and stuff like that at all. I don't like light beers. For me, if it's beer, it's I'm usually either gonna be drinking bourbon, scotch, or if it's beer, it's gonna be darker. I love Hefeweizens and wheat ales, and especially darker beers, darker German beers, Guinness, anything dark and heavy with a lot of alcohol in it. I don't go for light beers. So I'm pretty much good, and I don't like real hoppy stuff either. I'm not much of a fan of IPAs or pale ales. I like maltier beers. So yeah, again, typically German stuff, European beers for sure. Um, okay, cool. So that's all the questions for the Q&A. And so what I'll do again is kind of run you real quick. I don't want this to drag out. We've been going for over 30 minutes now, so I don't want to run on forever for you guys. Those of you who are still hanging on, thank you for listening this long and paying attention. I appreciate it. But um, a little bit of background about me without rattling on forever is, like I said a minute ago, I was born in Texas. And grew up in Texas, but I spent a lot of time as a kid in Oklahoma over around Muskogee, the Tahlequah area. Hanging out with my family, and then so yeah, I've kind of um, been a musician for what I feel like is virtually my whole life, and the fact that I've been influenced by listening to awesome music ever since I was a little tiny toddler. Um, I grew up on just awesome classic bands like Jethro Tull, Jimi Hendrix, um, Deep Purple, Pink Floyd. I mean, all of the classic stuff. Van Halen, obviously. I forgot to mention how, I should have mentioned that earlier. But anyway, for you guys who want to know kind of where my influences are built off of, um, guitar wise, like I said, I've been just guitar. I'm not talking about other instruments or anything like that. Just guitar. Uh, I've been playing for well over 20 years. One probably the guitarist who influenced me to start playing guitar the most was, and you can probably hear that some for the you guys have really paid attention to all of my playings and recordings and stuff, is Van Halen, of course. Eddie Van Halen was Steve Clark of Def Leppard and Eddie Van Halen were the two guys who got me started playing guitar. So working on their music early on was really what shaped the earliest part of my guitar playing, and what kind of steered me in the direction of, most people would call me. I call myself a shred style guitar player. That's not to say that I don't play other ways too, but that's the primary style of playing that I do. And so a little bit on down the road, I got really into Eric Johnson. You guys who know Eric from Austin area and Texas, he's a real bluesy, rock oriented guy, and so very heavily major minor pentatonic scale. So that really I kind of steered in that direction for quite a few years there too. Was once I got into Eric, was my playing really took on, a lot of pentatonics. um, After that, um, I kind of started getting heavier. I started playing a lot more extended range stuff. I started learning how to play 7, 8, 9, and I don't have it right now. I sold it. I will more than likely eventually get another one, but I even had a 10-string guitar there for a while. It's just cool. The extended stuff, the weird stuff. I'm really into, um, jazz fusion, jazz rock fusion, um, progressive rock, progressive metal bands. Dream Theater is a really huge. John Petrucci for me is another really big influence that I got into. Probably around the time, little after Eric Johnson, I kind of started steering towards. Um, John Petrucci and his playing, which any of you guys that know who he is just absolutely amazing. It wasn't until the modern person right now who huge well, yeah, my biggest influence guitar wise right now at this point in my life, and for a long time now, probably will be a long time now, is Sinister Gates from Avenged Sevenfold. You guys who know about them and about him. So it's a very close melding of John Petrucci and Sinister Gates is basically what my playing is right now, with some Andy James thrown in there for you guys who know him. Um, you wrap those together, and that's the bulk of what my influence is right now. My playing um, on guitar. Now, like I said, I play a lot of other instruments too, and so there's a side project. I've got to mention this. There's a side project that I've been working on and will be coming out at some point before long, that involves a lot of other instruments being melded into the guitar and other stuff. And so, um, yeah, be paying attention for that. Because that'll come out before long too, with a lot of other instruments involved with the rock and metal. But yeah, I mean that kind of gives you an idea of the direction I've gone, guitar wise, developmentally. Like I said, I hugely am self taught. The bulk of my music, I have taken vocal lessons, and I've basically I've taken some college level classes, music classes, specifically geared towards guitar. Once I got more experience and kind of knew half what I was doing, so I can't say that I'm entirely completely self taught, but the bulk of it's self taught, which kind of I think contributes to the my style of playing. Is there's a lot of there's a lot of chromatic notes and flurries mixed in with the progressive rock, progressive metal stuff, and it's just all melded into sometimes what sounds like it's in key or out of key, but that I think a lot of that kind of contributes to that the whole jazz rock fusion, jazz metal fusion, very progressive metal kind of sound that's going on. I was actually reading an interview with Sinister Gates not long ago where they were basically kind of pointing out that in his playing too, that there's a lot of chromatic notes blended in with minor scale stuff, where it comes across as just like streaks of notes that are flurries of notes that are out of key, but they're really not. They're more passing notes, passing tones. But it just gives that element of just kind of like notes are flying all over the place. So yeah, I mean, let's kind of wrap this up, and I'll more than likely do another one of these. Maybe I can do an actual live stream and do you guys, talk to you guys like real time. But if you have any more questions, by all means send them in. I want to do this again, or or something again before long. But this basically was the first as you can tell, the first Q&A, and just a chance to kind of let it all hang out and talk to you guys like this, so you can just kind of hear my voice and absolutely just hang out for a little while. Drink a beer together and just chill and let you guys get to know me a little bit on a very much more personal level. So yeah, I hope to talk to you guys, again soon, and stay in touch. Please stay up on, I'll steadily be releasing songs as there's so much going on right now. I've got so many songs I'm backlogged on. It's not even funny, but there will be more coming out soon. So just, pay attention to my social media and everything for that. But thanks for listening, guys. It's good talking to you.